Now, one thing that a computer does at a very fundamental level is move data from one place to another. Of course, in a computer, that would mean moving things from one part of memory to another part of memory. But if we generalize a bit, today that really means moving files from one place to another. Now, of course, we all need to move files around, whether they're photos or videos or source code or binaries, or and we're just moving files around all the time, both out onto the internet and, of course, locally in our own LAN. Now, here I have a network attached storage unit, and I use it all the time because all the videos that I record, this camera footage now, the audio files, everything goes onto my network attached storage, and I edit my videos from there. That means I don't need to have 8 terabytes of hard drive on my PC. Now, of course, moving files around is great, and the network attached storage is great for that. But there are some times, and I have to make a big confession, that sometimes it's just quicker to email a file to myself. Now, I'm not talking about a 1 terabyte file, but if I've got a quick document or a photo, I sometimes just email it to myself. I know, hate me if you want to, but that's just the reality of it, because sometimes it's not easy, like on an Android phone, to connect to my network attached storage. Now, really, it shouldn't be like that. I shouldn't be resorting to emailing myself. And there is a program that's the subject of today's video that I have to confess, 2 confessions in one video. They say confession is good for the soul. I only just discovered recently, though it has been around for quite a while, it's called Copyparty. And it's really easy way to set up a temporary file server that you access from your web browser, which means you can basically access it from just about any device, Android phone, a laptop, PC, Mac, Linux, whatever. And it's really good. And it runs on Windows and Mac and Linux and Raspberry Pi. So it's, it's really universal, both the client side and the server side. So in this video, I want to tell you all about it. So if you want to find out more, please let me explain. Okay, so really your starting point is the Copyparty GitHub repository that acts really as the home page. So at the beginning here, you'll see all the GitHub stuff, but actually when you scroll down, you start to see all the documentation. And if you can see how long this bar is here, there's loads of documentation to really help you out, but it's actually very simple to use, but they've got you covered. So go to the Copyparty GitHub repo, and I'll leave a link to that in the description. Scroll down a little bit and you can see here, get started. So you just click on get started. And what we'll see here is it's the quick start. And basically there are 2 things we're interested in. One is to install this copyparty.exe if you're using Windows. And that's what I'm going to do first of all. But also we're going to run it on a Raspberry Pi. So you need this copyparty-sfx.py. It's a Python file, and I'll show you that as well. But first of all, download copyparty.exe if you're running on a Windows machine. Okay, so that went down into my downloads folder, but I've now copied it here to this folder that I want to share. This is the folder that I want to make available for myself to either copy files from one computer to another, or if I've got other people that I want to share them with that are on my LAN. So basically I've got a folder here where I've got a couple of MP4 files, I've got an MP3 file, I've got some JPEG files, and I've got a markdown file. So all these are files I want to share, and I've put copyparty.exe to Windows exe in that folder. And it's really simple to share all those files on my LAN. I just double click on it. Up will come a window and it will start scrolling and showing loads of stuff. There's even a QR code and everything. Now you don't really need to worry about all the stuff it's saying here, but you do need to know this address here. This is the address of your Windows PC, and you need to open that address in the browser. Now if you click on that while pressing the control key, it will open up a web browser window. So here is the web browser window, and as you can see here, these are the files. Look, there's the MP4 files I mentioned, there's the example markdown file, here is an MP3 file, some JPEG files. Now the first thing is you can change that to a gallery display by clicking down here, and there you go. Now you can see these as you'd expect kind of in a file browser. Now of course you can click on any file and you can just see it, so that's really good. And in fact we can scroll through the images. So first of all, here I am, I'm actually getting access to these files. You can do this anywhere on your LAN. Click X there to get rid of it. And similarly, we can play video files. This is really useful. So we can click on that and look at that. The video file is actually playing. So this is absolutely really useful if you want to be able to do these things. And similarly, you can listen to the MP3 file. That works as well. So here I've got access to all of those files. Now I can also do things with multiple files at once. So up here in this toolbar here, multi-select is a really important key. You press that, and now I can select multiple files. So for example here now I've selected both of those MP4 files. Now down here on the right you can see if I click on zip, it will download those two files as a zip file, or I can click on download and that will actually download the two files separately. My web browser's checking that I actually want to do that because it's multiple files. Yes, I do. Okay, and that's now downloaded those two files into my download folder. If you want to download the contents of the entire folder, you just click zip here with nothing selected and it will download the entire folder to your PC. So another easy way to get access to all of the files. Now another interesting thing is that it supports markdown files by default. So if I click on example.md, you can see here is the markdown file in its formatted version, and even here on the left you can see the different sections, so I can kind of navigate very easily through this file. So it's a great way to handle markdown files. I can click on view raw to actually see the raw markdown there, or there's actually even an editor that I can go into and start editing it using kind of formatting, so you know, like a WYSIWYG editor in that sense. So really good for markdown files as well. So if you look at it from that point of view, this is really good for video files, for markdown files, for MP3 files, for image files. And when you finished all the file sharing, you just close that window that came up when you originally double clicked on copyparty.exe. Okay, so here I am now on a Raspberry Pi 5. I've got that same GitHub page open. I've clicked on the quick start link, and now of course we're not using copyparty.exe, that was for Windows. We actually want to download this copyparty-sfx.py. So I've downloaded that, there it is, and I've put it into another folder that again I want to share, but this time I want to share it from my Raspberry Pi, and so you can see the other MP4 files and everything else in there. Now to run this we need to open a terminal, but you don't need to worry about that, it's fairly safe. You open it, you go into the folder that you're trying to share where you've got the files, and what you do is you type Python and then you give it the name / means in this directory copyparty -sfx.py and hit enter, and you'll see actually a very similar screen comes up to the one that you had on the Windows. And again we can see here this is my URL that I need, and notice here now that it's actually got a port number :3923, so it's running not on port 80, which is the normal port for web browser stuff, it's running on a special address, so you need to use that whole address to access. Now I'm going to access it this time from my Windows PC again, and we're going to run that up now. Okay, so this is the browser on my Windows PC, but I've put in that URL which is pointing to my Raspberry Pi 5, and you can see it's exactly the same situation here. I can click on these files and see the pictures and scroll through them, and I can do the same with the video files and the MD, the markdown file and so on. So exactly the same as what we had before. Now you can also do uploading to the file server. Not only can you share files that you can download, I can add files to it. So in the background I've got the web browser running, and that's talking to the Raspberry Pi 5, and here on my Windows machine, here's a Windows Explorer window, I've got two video files that I want to upload, and I've picked these ones also because they're pretty large. So look what happens if I actually drag video 2 over to here. First of all, you get this upload and search thing. When we're going to upload, you drop it in this upload section anywhere here. Okay, and it says, do you want to upload this file? Yes, I do. And what happens here is you can see it's starting to upload it, and it's going through that now, and it will tell you how long it's got to go, 15 seconds, 14 seconds, and it's doing that upload. Now, what's really interesting is that it first of all, it broke that file down into a bunch of chunks in a phase that was called the hashing process. It went past really quickly, and then now it's actually sending up those chunks individually. This means that the uploads are safe in the sense that you're not just uploading one big file and then you're hoping it all gets there. It uploads smaller individual chunks. It checks that they got there with a checksum, checks they got there safe, and then moves on to the next one. In fact, more than that, it does multiple uploads in parallel, so you get the most out of your bandwidth. And here we can see video2.mp4 has been added there to the list of files. Now what I want to show you is what happens if you upload a bigger file. So that was a 600 megabyte file. Now here's a 7 gigabyte file. Now we're just going to drag that over again to the upload box. Let that go. Do I want to upload that? Yes. Now first of all, we can see that this hashing time is taking longer because it's a bigger file, but it's still doing it very quickly. So we'll let it complete the hashing. That's working out what the chunks are that's going to send up, and now it starts uploading it. Now it's going to take about 3-4 minutes here to upload it. Now what happens if through that 3 or 4 minutes you get a disconnect? Somehow your computer crashes, your internet goes down, your LAN goes down, something happens. And especially if you're uploading, like a 7 gigabyte file, and particularly if you're doing this over the internet, not just over your LAN, and you don't want to start again on that upload. Well, now that it's gone over 10%, let's interrupt this. Okay, and the easiest way to do that is just to hit the refresh key. So let's pretend there's been a problem. Okay, so here we are, and the upload stopped because we refreshed the browser and that file didn't upload. So I say, oh, I better redo that. So I get my file and I drag it over again, and it says okay. Now I'll go through that hashing process again, working out what the chunks are. But then notice this, look, it started at 15-16%. Because there was already that partial upload, it remembered where I was uploaded, and remember it's uploaded chunks in parallel. So instead it just said, well, I've got all those chunks already, I'll carry on. This is great. This means you can reliably upload files via this file server, and they're going to get them. Even if it gets interrupted 10 times for whatever bizarre reasons, you can just drag it over again and the upload continues. And that makes it really, really easy to use, and it's going to be reliable because it's doing it in that chunk method rather than trying to upload one big file all in one go, which means you have to start again from zero. Now it's also possible to upload entire folders. So in this folder here, Lorem, I've got what we've got there, like 100 text files. So obviously dragging those across one at a time could be quite tedious. So in fact I can just drag across the whole folder. There goes the upload, and it will say there are all the files. You want to do it? Yes. And it does them all, and did them really quick because they're not that long, and it handles it all very easily. And now in the folder there, Lorem, I've got all those text files that I wanted to upload. So you can upload big files and they are reliable. You can upload multiple files, you can upload entire folders, and it all gets handled easily. Now, one thing you may have noticed is that Copyparty Python file is here amongst all of your data files. So here you've got all your nice MP4 files and your JPEG files, but then you've got this file, and it's probably okay, so certainly if you're just doing quick sharing of things, but wouldn't it be nice if that was somewhere else rather than actually in the same folder as your data? Well, here I am back on the Raspberry Pi. The server's still running here in this window at the moment, but you can see here I've got another folder where I've set this up, and I've got the Python file here, and then I've got a folder I've called root. You can call it whatever you want, and then inside of that I've got all of my data. So wouldn't it be good if we could run this here and say, please use this as your data directory? In fact, they call it a volume. So that's what we're going to do now. So we'll stop the server over here. Okay, so the way we do that is like this. We run Python, then the Python script, -v for volume, and then you give it the name of that volume, in this case /root, and then you need where you want to mount it, which is the root. So you've got /, and then A is one of the attribute flags that grants permissions. All the details about that are on the website, but it's just what you need to do in this case. Now the -z that I've added in here is actually to enable zero conf. That means it kind of gets announced on your LAN and very easy to find. So we'll go ahead and run that, and now we can see everything looks exactly the same, but that Copyparty Python file isn't in there anymore because it's one directory up, and we've pointed it to another directory. Say use that as the volume for the files that you want to share and things. It's also worth noting, because we use that capital A permission flag there at the end, we now also have the right to delete files from here. So this actually gives us more of a full command, as if it's a normal file server with read, write, upload, download, delete, rename. Everything you want to do, you can now do. You can enable that or disable that as you see fit. Okay, there's lots more we can say about Copyparty. As I said, lots of documentation there in that GitHub repository. However, I want to cover one more thing, and that is it's possible to do folder synchronization using the command line client U2C copyparty.python. So you need to download this on a computer where you want to synchronize your files up to the Copyparty server. Now, it's not bi-directional. It won't, if you change things up there, they won't get reproduced on your one, but it's a great way of having files that you want, and you kind of want to back them up to the Copyparty server, and you can just say, make sure all this stuff here, I've got it synchronized up there in my backup. So you want to make sure you download that file, and I'm going to show you this now. Okay, so here on my Windows PC, I've got a folder called My Stuff, and there's some more MP4 files and JPEG files, and they're different ones to show that we can upload stuff. And I say I always want what I've got in here backed up to the Copyparty server, and I don't want it to copy everything up every single time, just the things that have changed, the new files, it just uploads them. So what we do is we run up the command prompt here on my Windows PC. Okay, now here I am inside of that My Stuff folder. Okay, so you run Python. I've got it in my downloads folder, so there is the script. And then you run --dr. That's just the best way for doing this synchronization. You say, where is the Copyparty server? So that's the address there that I just got from my web browser, and that address that's shown in that boot up sequence there. And then dot, basically these files here. And you go ahead and you hit enter, and it will go ahead and it will upload anything that's different. And in this case, because it's the first time I've did it, it uploaded everything. If I now run it again, it's actually not going to do anything. It just went, oh, no, that's all fine. Everything is good. Now, it uses that same hashing technology to make sure the files are exactly the same. So if there's any differences, not even one character, it will go ahead and re-upload them. And now if we switch back to the web browser, again, this is all happening on the Raspberry Pi 5. You can see here there's this folder now, My Stuff. And we can go into that and you can see all those files there. So that's a really good way of making sure you've got stuff locally and it's always uploaded to the Copyparty server without uploading everything every time, just uploads the files that have changed. Okay, that's it. Love to hear your thoughts about Copyparty in the comments below. Do subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and I'll see you in the next one.